Okay, go
Off
ahead.
Glimmer High, friends! Darth Momo here, along with Double O Studio.
Yep.
Hi. So we're here today to continue on with our rankings, and we're gonna rank all the Lego videos that we made. And by we, I mean John movies and nuclear films. No one else made any Legos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything you wanna? I mean, I don't know how to really preface this one. I guess a lot of this is really within a couple of years, but there's actually quite a bit of content here, surprisingly. I think there's like 4 hours worth of content here, which is kind of crazy because I think that's what 2016 was, and nothing else ever came close to that.
Yeah. That's a lot of Legos.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. It opened up possibilities that weren't necessarily something we could do on with live action.
I mean, I guess. Would you like me to answer my question now, or your question now?
Well, cool. So you watched all these over the last 2 days. What did you think? I guess without getting into too much detail, what did you think?
Um, Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. There was like only a handful that I actually kind of enjoyed.
Oh,
Yeah, I think what's funny about you guys, well, mostly you, you got you really didn't do the whole stop motion part. I feel like most people when they make Legos, they actually like make it like a stop motion, like clay motion or claymation. But for the most part, more than half of these are really just a bunch of pictures and moving cameras, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I guess the stop motion is more of a relative term.
yeah.
I mean,
I
to make a true stop motion like that would have taken a lot of time and effort, and I wasn't putting that much effort into it.
yeah, no, I know, and I was actually gonna say this. Like I noticed the thing about Yakuson that I give him a lot of props for is that everything he does, he puts a lot of effort into it. Whereas you're kind of more just like I want to make it just for fun.
Mhm.
Whereas yeah, he's like professional. I'm not saying you're not professional. I'm just saying like he's producing it like it's professional. You're kind of producing it like, oh, like this is just for fun.
Yeah. And well, I'll get more into that too, but I definitely would agree that that was one of Yackerson's strong points is um, the videos as stop motions themselves.
Yeah.
So, with that, we'll get right into the meat and potatoes. So, the first video we're going to talk about is available on Nuclear Films. We're going to talk about Lego Star Wars Rebel Defense.
All right, go ahead.
Where are my notes here? I gave this one a 4 out of 10.
Dang. Okay.
So I remember when this first came out, I really liked this. Also, this was a 2017 production. um, I really liked this just because like it was the first one, and now watching it, like it's good stop motion, but it's so short. Like I watched these on my TV, and the thing was like over before my cursor even went away. Like I was like, what just? I was like, what just happened? There was no story, no substance. It was just kind of like a done. I was like,
No, I agree. I agree. Um, I basically said this exact same thing, except I don't think it's that bad. So the biggest thing I want to take away from this video, like this whole ranking episode, before we even begin more of these, is I I really emphasize on the stop motion part, like because that's what it's supposed to be. So I give him a lot of credit for actually making it look good. Yes,
mhm,
it's really short, but it still looks like a stop motion. So I would say like a 5.9, 5.8. I don't think it's that low because hey, like he did good on the production quality. I do believe it is an F just because there's like no substance. There's like nothing to it.
yeah,
But I gave it a high F.
rip. I promise that's gonna be like, well, for me, that's one of the worst faring ones. I think most of these are better than that one.
Well,
Oh! Next, we're gonna talk about where is it on here? Lego Batman Riddler chase. This is on Nuclear Films and was 2017. You can take this one.
Are you sure? Don't you want me to take all of yours and you take all the nukes?
All right, we can do that. Nukes. Um,
Nuke.
I gave this one a. I scribbled out my score a few times. I'm trying to see. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Um, I put on here the stop motion is really fast, like too fast to comprehend, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, but oh, wait a second. Okay, but I said I understood the story at least. I think. So the video overall moved way too fast. Like even the credits went over. It was like I was like,
I
what?
know. I know. I don't
Also,
understand the credits.
why does Robin do voice Batman and not you?
Yeah, that should have. What? Yeah, that would have been a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty basic story. There's not a lot of substance, and the stop motion is pretty fast.
I gave the exact same ranking. I said F, 5 out of 10. Um, that hurt my eyes. That's what I wrote. That hurt my eyes. The stop motion at that time was pretty bad. Way too fast. It's kind of hard to understand because of the fast editing. The credits fly by. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I can't even read the credits. Just go.
Yeah.
um, if this one was like slowed down a little bit and edited better, I'm sure it would be like a 6 or a 7.
I agree. I think it's funny that you say you're looking at this primarily as like stop motion because I approach these all differently. Like stop motion is a factor, but I'm also looking at story too.
Well, yeah, but like we'll get to that. But I completely agree with that. But we'll get to that.
I feel like we're about to get to that.
Oh, are we? What's the first one?
The next one is My Lego Rebel Life, Season
Oh,
1, available on Jaw Movies and Darth Momo, a 2017 production. Take it away.
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I know you're gonna cry. Yeah, that was like a 4 out of 10.
Dang.
That was that was not good. I'm sorry. Like, well, I guess I should just like come out of the bag now. I kind of see all the Rebel seasons kind of the same. Like they're like there's just no. I mean, there is stop motion, but it's really poorly done. Like I said, I know you were just doing it for fun. So like, if we're trying to be objective and rank all these against each other, like against with yaks, like I gotta be fair. Um, I don't think I don't think the production is good at all. I'm sorry. Like it's blurry pictures, like out of
Yeah.
focus, random camera angles. You can see your hand in the thing. Jackson at least made sure not to do that.
You know,
um,
and it's funny too because I mean we'll get more to that in season 3 and 4, but Yak helped me make season 3 and 4, and I tried to be like somewhat discreet about the hand gestures, but then when we were making the third season, he just straight up had his entire arm in there half the time, and I'm like, ah, like he just didn't
yeah.
care. I really wish
Yeah.
I said something to him. I almost did, and I'm like, well, he's coming over here to help me all day. Like, I don't want to like, beat up on him for doing that, but at the same time, I'm like, try to be discreet about it. Like, he's just like, I was trying to keep it like my hands at the bottom of the screen, like this, and Yakerson was just like,
Yeah, no, it was pretty yeah, like and sometimes you would have like seconds of actual stop motion, but it would be like the easiest thing ever, like two characters walking or something.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. I was and the story is okay. It was a little confusing. Like there was a lot of confusing moments and it wasn't really engaging either. A lot of this I've seen before. You're like all these plot points. Um, so yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Kind of, I looked at it.
so I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I
I
figured
agreed
you
with
would.
I agreed with a lot of points you made though. Very rough production. Um, I put on here definitely room to improve, such as the fluidity of the stop motion. A lot of it kind of reminded me of some of like Yackerson's videos where like it's quick or it's too like janky. Kind of like if you're looking at like to compare it, if you're comparing like season 7 of Clone Wars animation to like the movie animation.
Okay.
Very rough. I said there's also like um needs to improve with fleshing out the characters. Like you kind of know Chris and you kind of know Josh and you kind of know Martina,
Oh yeah.
but that's about it. Like you don't really know who these people are, what their backstories are, who these even are as like characters. Like you get like little bits and crumbles of it, but you don't really get a lot of it. Um, I put in here though. I said I thought the story was kind of fun characters and voice acting. Um, I don't know. Like anytime Nick spoke, I kind of just cracked up.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like you could tell like this was like there were like again. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I you can tell that you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna slap this all together because
Well, and that's actually true. Like basically, the way this all started is like I was like sitting there with one night, and I was thinking, I'm like, I was thinking about this kind of like story. I'm like, what if I tried to turn this into some sort of video? So I took like pictures of each of the Lego figures of who they would be if we were them, and I put that in like a video. I don't know if you remember that. It was like a picture of me and then a picture of what I would be Lego form and everyone else, Chris, Martina, you, etc. And I showed that to everybody, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's really cool. You should make that. You should make that. Yeah, that'd be awesome." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I made the first one, and I was like, "Oh, that was not as hard or complicated as I thought it was going to be." I'm like, "Well, I'll make a couple more." And then I made a couple more, and I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm getting kind of the hang of this." And I'm like, "Well, we'll make one more set of like episodes, and we'll call that the first season." And we'll see how that goes. And then after the first season happened, I was like, okay, you know what? Like this kind of worked. I think I'm gonna roll with it, and we're gonna like actually do something with this. And I don't know if you thought that or not, but I thought there was easily a change in the approach between the first and the second seasons. I thought at least.
um
Oh,
no, I'll say this. Like I thought you well. There were a few moments in the second season, but I mean, I know we're jumping ahead here, but I think the Clone Wars thing you did was a lot better in production. Not in any of the seasons of the Rebels is kind of the same for me. Like,
we'll get to the Clone Wars in a little bit.
but yeah, to me, I mean, like you might have had a few better shots in the other seasons, but it all looked the same, to be honest.
Well, I mean, also too, like not just like production wise, but story wise too. Like things felt more planned out or like written better as a story.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Rebel Life is D. I'm serious. I don't
That's
think.
fine. I think the first we can put that one in F. Because I mean, you're right. Like it's got blurry photos. Part of it was like I know part of it was YouTube quality because I'm sitting here watching some of them and I'm like, I've seen these before. They don't look that blurry. Um, but then part of it I know I'm like, yeah, I know that came out blurry. Like I'd sit there and take the camera shot like 5 different times and it was still blurry and I'm like, whatever. I'm not gonna sit here for an hour dealing with this one picture.
Yeah, no, I think that one belongs in F.
I yeah, that's fine. The next one we're going to talk about is also 2017 and available on Nuclear Films. It's Lego Star Wars Desert Ambush.
Desert Ambush. Let me find this one. Oh, okay.
I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I thought there wasn't too much substance to the story, but it was solid stop motion work, and I enjoyed some of the character banter. It also felt kind of like Clone Wars, and I'm a sucker for Clone Wars, so he got me on nostalgia.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also gave it a 7 out of 10. Said it wasn't bad to watch. It wasn't bad overall. Like, good production, good stop motion. It was just kind of fun, short, sweet, and simple. Like,
Yeah.
that's when you think of Lego stop motion, if you're trying to go like basic, that's the standard, I feel like. And then it goes up from there. So yeah, I think that's where it should be. 7 out of 10 is perfect for that one.
Good job, yeah. um, Next is On Jaw Movies, and Darth Momo, a 2017 production, My Lego Rebel Life Season 2.
Oh. You want
Well,
me to go?
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was slightly better than the second one or the first one. I gave it a 5, but
Oh.
I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of the same stuff. Like I like the story changes. Like I like how Josh is like now kind of like this weird space dude. Um, and I think there's still a lot of interesting stuff going on story wise, but I think this is like the bottom of quality for stop motion. Like if we're looking at all this objectively, like yeah, the story might be more fun, but it's still like the production is still so bad. So um, what else did I say?
An argument you once made that you'd rather have something that, um, looks awful, but it's still a pie, as opposed to something that was supposed to be a pie and instead it's a really good looking cake.
Well, yeah, I still stand by that. But like compared to the other work on here that's not offensive, it's still bad.
Oh, well, we might have a problem. I
Great.
gave it a 7 out of 10.
A 7? You give your stuff way too high.
I mean, I think a lot of it is like, I mean, production wise, I agree, but like, I guess I just wasn't looking at him as straight like this needs to be like, like Wallace and Gromit type stop motion. It's a video, right? Like that's how it was presented, but I don't know, I guess like I was more so looking at story.
Okay, well,
And
first of all, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I kind of forgot. I still have some more notes, and that brings
oh,
up a
sorry.
point.
Go ahead.
Well, that brings up a point because first of all, I wrote massive Rogue One ripoff. So like, you say story, but a lot of this just felt like the movies. Like you just kind of took. I see a pattern here with you and your video. And then the other thing I was gonna say is, did you steal footage?
Wait, what do you mean?
There's some shots where you literally put in like other better looking stop motion from someone else, and literally video game footage too. I feel like, um,
Not in this one.
yeah, in season 2 there was like a shot,
Ah!
like you do that, and that's like a recurring theme from the other seasons. Like you literally steal like other stop motion that looks better, has been done better, and you're
I
like, let
do
me
know
just
what you're
insert
talking
that
about.
in the
Yeah, there
money.
was a sequence where I used like I found clips on like the internet
Yeah, and
from like the movies.
I've seen those stop motions. Those are good stop motions. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't seen that video in forever. You just stole that and put it in this episode. So like, if we want to talk about story, again, you just use a lot of the same things from the actual movies, and then I don't know, man. Yakerson never stole other, and then you also put Yakerson's own stop motions in this.
Not in this one, that was in the next one in the Clone War. But yeah, I asked him for that though. I asked him for that.
So I look objectively, it should be an F, but I mean, I'll compromise to D. I I think the clone.
Oh.
I mean, I don't want to jump ahead here, but we'll just I don't know. It's up to you. Because here's the
Oh.
thing, we're being objective throughout this entire ranking
Yeah.
series. Well, why do you want it to be in?
Oh.
Like, what about the story? Do you want to put it in C for?
I put in there like I like that it feels like we fleshed some of the characters out more. I feel like there was an evolution in production, and I felt like the story at least felt like planned out. Like it wasn't just kind of like cobbled together like the last one. Like the story felt like a constant evolution. And I like some of the voice actors. Like I like McKay as the villain. I don't know, that was fun. Oh, this
We're gonna have a
hurts,
problem
but
though when the Clone Wars comes around.
we can we can put it in F. Dang. Well, moving along, we have My Lego Rebel Life Season 3 from
Ah!
Drama Feeds and Darth Momo, a 2017 production.
Oh. Um, I put Return of the Jedi ripoff. Yeah. Honestly, same ranking, but
Dang, a 5 out of 10?
yeah, it again, like another thing too that was fun about our series video is that it was fun to watch like things improve. And like here it's just like I felt like I was watching the same thing over and over and over again. Like there wasn't really much improve at least to me, there wasn't really much improvement production wise. Um the story, I mean, there's a lot of new stuff, but at the same time, it's just stuff that we've all seen before in Rebels and Clone Wars, and like it's their ideas. I mean, you literally had Yakerson go to like a Dagobah, and Yoda visits him,
That
and
was
then
in
or
season 2.
that's the season two. But whatever. The
Yeah, I
point
know what
is
you're
that
saying, though.
there's so much just like stuff that I mean, I'm not trying to dog on you, but you were also like what 16, 15,
Yeah,
right?
and that's part of the premise too. I don't know if this changes your thoughts on it or not, but part of the premise was pretty much like taking our group of like friends and putting us in like that time frame and that group of stories. So like, while I try to like, not be a straight up like, hey, we're just gonna, I didn't try to do it like I did Galaxy War, where it's like, hey, we're just basically gonna take the Revenge of the Sith script and just swap out names. Like I try to like, it was kind of like a compilation of different beats, but it was still like it was meant to be like what if we were basically the main characters of Star Wars Rebels?
Well, the other thing too, it was funny is like you um I think this is the season where you reference no, last season you reference it being in canon to the actual Star Wars timeline. But then it doesn't really make sense because this is something I should have said about the last season. It doesn't make sense because you have all these characters that look exactly like the characters of the Star Wars timeline. So that was also really confusing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Where did you give it?
Season 3,
Yeah,
I gave it an 8.
bruh. You know what this feels like? This feels like the time when I was like, "Hey, the gunman should be a 7. Hey, Chespus in the Dark should be higher than that." And you're like, "This is ass. This belongs in F." This is what this feels like, except I'm not that mean.
Ah! I don't know. I had a blast watching all these. Like, I loved a lot of stuff. Like, I loved the new villain. I liked how the story, like, how it works as a story. Like, it builds up to me. Like, it's not just like little clumpy arcs, like maybe the first two seasons were. Like, it has like a natural like starting point, and it just continues to build up to like the climax. Like, I really loved the last couple of episodes, how they came out. I love a lot of the acting, and it feels like it grew too. Like there's more ships and all that in there, and Yakerson came and helped with some of the stop motion. So I feel like there was an improvement in the I feel like every season improved the stop motion a little bit, bit by bit.
Well, here's the thing. Um, I mean, I agree with 8? Heck no.
Eh,
but but if you want to put these higher, then that means I'm going to bump up the ones I actually do like even higher.
well, I mean, you wanted to put this in F, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it should at least be D.
that's fine. We can put it in D.
Oh, I'm gonna pay for
That
that, aren't I?
that just means that the other ones that I have on here are going to be a higher.
Ah! Next we have. I'm curious what you think about this one. Next we have Lego Star Wars Resistance Reconnaissance, a 2017 production from Nuclear Films.
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, what are you gonna say?
It's not canon.
Well, Lucasfilm would agree with that.
Go ahead.
Um,
This is your thing.
I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I said I don't even remember being in this. LOL.
Yeah, I'm in it too, aren't I?
I think so.
Yeah.
Um, I said it kind of screws with the Last Jedi canon about Crate.
Well, that's not even canon anyways. Who cares?
Well, it's trying to be canon with the Last Jedi. I put production was fine. It was a pretty basic story though. I remember like when Yak told me he was gonna make this, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, that doesn't quite add up with some of the canon going on here. And I tried to like explain to him, and he's like, well, actually this and that. I'm like, whatever.
That's funny because I gave it a six. I didn't put 6.5, but I gave it a six. I think it was I put not canon. Okay. No, but
So does
I
this
put it
exist?
what?
Does this exist?
Well, no, but I said it was an okay, Lego stop motion. But yeah, I think this is like a perfect D tier film. Like it's not awful. The production is not awful. It's got just like a short, sweet, simple, story, and the
Yeah.
stop motion is pretty good.
I guess that was something that I found constantly kind of be at odds with like Yak and I was like, I seem to like focus more on like the storytelling aspect of it as opposed to like the production aspect of it. And Yakerson, I feel like was kind of the opposite. Like there was a lot more like basic, like low substance videos or Lego videos from him, but then the stop motion fluidity of it was a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like I said, like there's just so many little things in yours. Like for example, every time Nick's like speaks, he's just like laughing, and you didn't make sure to like fix that. You're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Or
I
like,
tried, Nick.
and then there's like times when what is her name, Sally? Like
Carly. That's
Carly.
Caroline that voiced her.
Oh, but there's times like when she's talking and the audio is so bad.
Yeah. So season one, and most of the time, what I just had was I would just either it was in Hall's classroom or if we were at like the library or something, I would just pull someone aside and I'd pull up my camera and I'd just have them sit down and I'd record them saying the lines. And I was having trouble getting Caroline to come in the time when I was doing season three. She had a lot going on, and I was like, well, try and like I emailed her the script, I think, and I said, just record them over your phone and send them to me. And she did. I was like, oh, this is bad. This is not her acting. I'm like, the audio quality is just awful. And I remember like I even showed Yak to, and he literally cringed. He was like, oh, I was mad too because I was like, this season is just awesome. And then I'm like, then I have that. So I remember when season four rolled around, I was like, Caroline, I'm just gonna give you my camera. Just take it home and do them when you can. Like, don't do your phone again.
Yeah. No, it's just like Chris made sure to make every detail look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I do kind of wish too, like looking back on it, like that I had maybe I know he tried like some green screen for space. I'm like, I kind of wish I had
oh yeah.
tried that a little bit.
Well,
That was
like
a
I said,
tech.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think if you like actually tried, in every regard, I mean, these would be so much higher. I mean, think about it. You have so much content. You have 4 seasons of Rebels,
Yeah.
and you have 2 seasons of Clone Wars. All of those could be really high if the production there was effort in the production. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really wish that I had some sort of like animation technology and I could make it with animation instead of Legos. I could
Yeah,
remake it. I have all the voice recordings.
you should.
You want to
I'd
make it with
actually
me?
sure.
So next up we have My Lego Rebel Life Season 4, a 2018 John Movies and Darth Momo production.
All right. Um, this one same. Honestly, they're all the same to me.
Dang, they're all F tier?
Yeah, this was cringe too, because like
Oh.
you had Carly and you at those that cringe like love moments, like her bad well not her bad audio, but you guys were like you had two Legos like kissing each other, and you guys were like Carly, I'll never forget you or something, and I'm like I want to die, and then like the
Well, I was
Rogue
trying to
One,
channel Anakin and Padme.
I know that's what made it also cringe, and then the Rogue One ripoff at the end. Um, still bad production.
Oh, see, it's funny because I remember when like Yackerson first watched it, he's like, "Wow, I actually felt something after that. Good job, Josh."
I don't know. To me, it's like, I mean, I can't really feel anything because all I can think of is like, wow, I'm just watching really bad, production, and like also, this is all just stolen. Like, I clearly, you were Anakin and she was Padme, and it's like, it was just hard to like have a connection with anything because it's just like it's so familiar. Like, and I tried. That's why I didn't give it even lower. That's why I was like, oh, 5 is fine. Like that's not being rude. Rude would be like 2 or 3. Like I'm
I
trying to be
only
like,
gave it a 4.
yeah, I didn't want to be that low. So I'm trying to like give you credit and not be a dick. So
I gave it a 8.8.
see, this is stupid because here you are in the actual video rankings, right? Destroying mine, Yaks, Jake's, whatever, just like going crazy
Destroyed
on
my
it.
own too.
Yeah, but you give yourself an 8.8 for season 4 of My Lego Rebel Life. Like, you gotta be consistent, Egg.
Oh,
8.8!
I don't know.
That's
I had
funny.
a really fun time watching it.
I can see D tier.
What about C tier?
If you put it in C tier, I'm gonna have to raise others. I'm just saying.
Oh, all right. We'll put it in D tier.
You don't want me to raise other ones, do you?
It depends on the other ones we're talking about.
All right, when we get to it, I'll tell you what it is. Then we can maybe shuffle some around.
I literally even put in here too. I love that it was short and sweet, all killer, no filler, and a worthy final installment.
Oh,
I will say
yeah.
this though, like going into it, like I have a fond like nostalgia for this. So like I was expecting like to give higher scores to all of them going in. And like I even thought like before I started watching them all, I'm like, what if I want to put one of these in S tier? And I was watching them and I'm like I kind of like them, but I'm like at the same time I'm like, if I gotta be fair, I'm like none of these are S tier, and I'm like I don't even think any of these should be an A tier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
It's
okay.
funny too because like I have a really like fond nostalgia for this time period and this idea, but yeah, it's definitely better in my memories than it was in actuality. But I still don't think it's F tier. But
I mean, I mean, we'll get to that. Just go to the next one. Let's go to the next one.
so the next one we're gonna talk about is Lego Star Wars Pow's Mission, a 2018 nuclear films production.
Okay.
I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I said production was fine, but a very basic story, and it was rather quick too. I also put I didn't even know I was in this, and I didn't even know it existed until 4 months ago.
That's funny. Was I in this?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think Chris Peters was though.
That's funny. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
We could put it in C tier.
It's short, sweet, good production, like good stop motion. And I don't know, like there was a lot of sets, there was a lot of action. I mean, it was a pretty decent film.
Yeah.
Rip egg.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Um,
wait, real quick. Imagine if you had that level, but for My Lego Rebel Life. Like, it would be B or A. You know what I mean? Maybe you should redo them.
I thought about it a little recently because like still have all the voice recording files. I don't delete any footage or anything. I never do that. So like
What
I
you could
could.
do too, and I'm just saying this. What you could do too is because there's a lot on here that I do like, and most of them are from Yakerson. So what you could do is you can one up him by actually like making Lego sets instead of just putting it on your carpet on your floor. You know what I mean?
I
Like
could.
actually, you can one up it and make it the best Lego series ever. Good production and actual sets.
I think if I really wanted to remake it, I would just look into animating it.
Oh, like not Lego stop motion?
Yeah. I Lego stop motion it because there was no other way to tell that kind of a story with, us.
Well, I mean, Lego stop motions are cool. You even stole the best Lego stop motion. Like it's doable. It just takes a lot of time. It just depends on how much time you want to put into it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it was a lot easier to do that when I was 16 as opposed to 23. That's the unfortunate thing. I'd love to make more. It's just I don't know if I have the time. Um, Next we have Lego Star Wars: The Commander, a
Oh,
2019
heck
to
yeah.
2020 nuclear films production.
Okay.
I gave this one
Uh huh.
a 7.5.
Okay.
Um, I want to emphasize before I get to the negative stuff, the production was really good, and I mean that's really there's not too much to say about the production other than it was pretty good. It was good quality stop motion, um, and I could tell he put a lot of effort into it, and I respect that. And if I was grading it off the production alone, I would probably put it in a B or maybe even an A, depending on the day. Maybe a B. um, I just the story's okay, and I couldn't get into the story. Commander Joint and
Really?
his yeah, Commander Joint and his team just I feel like that kind of goes against the entirety of what the CIS was and what they stood for. Like battle
Oh,
droids were just cheap, just run of the mill robot soldiers to just pump in mass production to get out there and just overwhelm clones and Jedi. Like a
mhm.
specialized team, like he basically made a Bad Batch version of droids, except the Bad Batch fits with the ideas of the Republic. It doesn't fit with the ideas of the CIS. And the fact that he wields a lightsaber, like it's basically General Grievous. It's literally a story of General Grievous leading the Bad Batch.
I
And
disagree.
his tech, like his some of his droids were like really cringy too. Like that tech sergeant, like, I gotta die! Like, oh, that made me cringe every time he spoke.
I actually like
Um
that.
the other thing what?
I actually liked that.
No, I cringed. The other thing, like, I know this is you could probably chalk this up to a nitpick, but I hate that at the beginning, like Obi-Wan's on catering to Moity, and then he's like, "Oh, you got to go to the Battle of Coruscant," because I told him when he was gonna do that, I'm like, "Hey, that is literally against the established canon." I'm like, Obi-Wan. First off, he was with Anakin anyway. That was established in Revenge of the Sith, which he takes such heavy inspiration from. I'm like, not only that, but I'm like, hey, I told him, hey, the Clone Wars is coming out. Like, this is the story they're gonna do. They revealed this story at a Star Wars Celebration panel like 3 years ago, and I said, now the show's coming back out in a couple of months. This is what they're gonna do. And he's like, no, 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 no. It's just well, Obi-Wan can just go there and then to court. I'm like, your story does not align with that, and that's what pisses me off. Is like, I know I have like contradictions too, and I know he's got others like they're minor ones. Like it's bound to happen. But I guess why I get so mad about this one is I tried to warn him. Like it wasn't just like this happened and then later the fact and then you're like, "Oh shoot, that was an error." Like he did that and I tried to warn him before he did that and he did it anyway. And he acted all smug and arrogant about it.
Okay.
But I know to you that might just be a nitpick. And the other thing I hate too is I hate the ending with Bail Organa. That is cringe.
I knew you were gonna say
Because
that.
you thought it was cringe too.
No, I do, and I'll talk about that in a second. But
I mean, I felt bad giving it low because I know he put a lot of effort into it, and I respect that. And I know that there's probably a lot of people too who aren't like deep into the lore that like you might get someone like I don't know, like you could might get someone like Kira, let's say, to watch this, right? And Kira could watch it and be like, "Oh, that was kind of a cool story." Like she's not gonna have the same like lore issues with it that someone like you or I might because we're more deeper into the lore. So like I
yeah,
guess that's part of the story. Is it's like it's not a bad story in concept. I don't think it's a good Star Wars story. At least the way he presented it. And that was like I had trouble getting into it because of that. Like I sat there bored most of the time. I'm like, this is a really good
really,
this is a really good stop motion. It's just I don't really like his story. And I guess that's why I
really,
had more fun with my Lego Rival Life. Is I'm like, yeah, the production's kind of bad on this, but I had more fun with the story.
I disagree. Unfortunately, I disagree.
Oh, would you give
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I wanted to give it an 8. Like, I really wanted to give it I gave it a 7.9 just because I wanted it to be an 8, but because of a lot of like minor things, it couldn't be an 8 for me. I disagree basically on everything you said. I
So you
actually,
thought it was pretty much the exact same ranking I gave it, but then you disagree with everything I said.
well, not the ranking, but everything, like all the nitpicks you said. Um, I actually think this is the best Lego series anyone has done. Well, I know you guys both did ones, but and that's it. But I think this is the best one out of both of you guys. Like, I disagree. I love the story. I know you said it's not like CIS of them, but to me, like, I don't know, like the Bad Batch kind of came out of nowhere, and I know it makes sense for the Republic, but like also, I mean, the battle droids have those like really cool assassin droids that like do flips and have swords, and it's like, I mean, I know they're like B1 battle droids, but like it's not, to me at least, it's not out of the possibility. Like I mean, I didn't really care. It's also not canon. Obviously, it's like his own little thing. It's like I'm gonna give him credit for coming up with something. Like like I thought out of all the Lego videos, this one was like the only one that had characters that were like so fun, like that were so like um fleshed out. Like each character he did really well at like giving them a specific tone and consistency. Like the character where you're like, "Oh, I'm going to die." I love those moments because it's like that's that character, and it's like he was consistent. Like each character had their little moments, and I was like really impressed by that.
That's interesting. That's true.
I was like he laid out all these characters, and he was consistent with each one, and they were fun, and they weren't like cringe. They had their own little you know things going on with them, and it was fun. I also love the story. I think it is so interesting. I wish the reason why I didn't put an 8 is because one, I wish that the clone joining him wasn't so quick. Like,
Yeah, I thought that was kind of like, okay, these guys still want revenge. Like they're still killer battle droids, and you're just, yeah,
yeah,
I'm good. I'm gonna kill my brothers now.
yeah, I didn't really like that, but my reasoning behind that is like if only this was like fleshed out a little more, like if it was longer, that would have been completely okay. But because of like how short this series is, like it makes sense why it was kind of like quick. Um, so, but I still love that idea. Like, oh, like let me join you guys and let me fight against my own brothers. Like we see that in literal Star Wars today, like in the Bad Batch and stuff like that. So it's not like uncommon. And honestly, he was kind of the first to do that, which is kind of cool. Um, yeah, the stop motion is awesome. The effects, like the Mustafar stuff. Yeah, it's not the
Yeah,
greatest, but I give him a lot of credit for doing that. That was
I do
really
too.
cool. I was kind of blown away by that. I was like, whoa, like he's trying here. What else did I put? Really good story, unique, fun characters. Confusing in the timeline though. So this is where I agree with you, and this is why I didn't put it in 8. The rebel thing I didn't like. Like I don't know how fast this whole story is supposed to be because the rebels show up out of nowhere. Like I thought this was right after episode 3.
Yeah.
So so I do agree with you. Like some of the timeline is like a little messed up, but um, if it wasn't for those a couple of nitpicks, I think this is the best Lego series. As for your nitpick about Obi-Wan, like I didn't even first of all I didn't even see it. Like I didn't pick that up, but now that you say it, I mean yeah, but I'm not like oh my god, you know what I mean?
I will say too, I don't remember what they are, and I'm kind of mad I didn't write it down. But like, there was a couple things that I noticed out here because like this was done in like 2019 and the beginning of 2020. But there's a lot of stuff that I thought was interesting that like he kind of did. That if you look at it, it kind of aligns with what the Bad Batch was doing, like the chain codes, right? Like we see in the Bad Batch that the Empire brought chain codes out like right away after Episode 3, and in one of the videos, chain codes were part of it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And like some of the clones like waking up and rebelling against the Empire. I thought there was a couple things that like when you look at it how it came out years ago and you look at what the Bad Batch is doing now, I'm like, oh, that kind of lines up. That's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Like he really, did a good job um, you know, expanding on the Star Wars lore. Like
Mhm.
this is what I'm talking about by good writing for like a stupid Lego production. Like this is why I was so kind of bored, I guess, with the Rebel series. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just it's true. Like yours had every thing in the book when it comes to Star
Yeah.
Wars. Like I've seen all that before, but Yagerson literally made stuff that Star Wars itself would do later.
Hmm.
Like that's what I'm trying to get at.
No, that's true. That's pretty much like I just wanted to live those Star Wars moments in that time frame. That was the idea, and to that, it's satisfied to me at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if we're gonna be objective about everything,
Yeah.
we have to have a rule set coming into these rankings, and we've already established that rule set. So I thought, if we're gonna be objective, we're gonna be objective.
So I was gonna say I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna make you mad because you'll feel like you got cucked. Um, there was a point. This was because remember Yackerson did like 3 Lego Commanders, and then he kind of stopped for a little bit, and then decided to do the other 4. But for a while, he kind of stopped.
Mhm.
There was a point in that time frame where we were actually thinking of maybe doing his next Commander installment. We were talking about a crossover. So it would have been in between My Lego Rebel Life Season 3 and 4, and it would have had crossover with Commander Join.
So it's funny you say that because I remember seeing Commander Joint in the Rebels series,
No,
or
they're
was
just
it?
random droids.
But he looked very familiar. I was like, is that Commander Joint?
No, they're just battle droids. But
That
yeah,
would be
we
cool.
did talk about doing a crossover,
That would be
and
cool.
we never ended up doing it.
I feel like if you did do a crossover, Yagerson would kind of make sure, like, to make it unique and kind of the
That was
production.
one thing we were talking about is like because there's different ways we approach the production of them. Like, what areas would um what would we carry over from him and what would we carry over from me? Like all my special effects were green screen, whereas his special effects were Lego studs. So there was some discussion on what we were gonna do with that.
Yeah, that would have been
Um,
fun to see.
all right, we'll put that in C tier then. And the next one we're gonna talk about is um My Lego Clone War, a 2020 production on John Movies and Darth Momo. So
Okay,
take it away.
so I think these are way better than the Rebels. um, I know you put Rebels in D tier, so this is where I was gonna kind of like. I mean, I put this as a D tier. Like I said, like 6 out of 10, because I think like it's better than Rebels. But now that you put a Rebels in D tier, like I mean, I won't put it in C tier, I guess, but I'll say it's higher, like a 6.8 or some 6.5. I actually really enjoyed the Clone Wars because first of all, I love the opening monologue. I don't know who did that. Did you do that?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like each time, like the guy or you, I guess, he you like it's I don't know, the voice is so hilarious to listen to. And
I
then
tried for a little while on Final Cut to see if I could make it sound like Tom Kane, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm like, let's just find something unique and roll with it.
yeah, it was actually very unique and it had like a little fun character twist. Like I thought it was like your own little version and I thought that was cool. I like all the new sets you had. Um I like the stop motion quality. It got a lot better.
Did you
Uh,
recognize the set in the very first episode?
yes, that was another thing too that I was very happy about. I'm like, "Oh my god, my old set." I don't know where that is by the way, but that was really cool to see. Like you used my set. I thought that was awesome. I didn't even know that actually. Um, so way better in production. Fun story. Felt like the Clone Wars. So I gave it like a. I think it was a solid D. But now like that you put Rebels in there. I mean, honestly, it could be a C.
So is that all you had to say, or?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that because I remember going into this and I'm like, I made the Clone Wars as kind of like, a fun little like backstory, but also like to tie up loose ends. So I'm like, I don't even like I could vividly tell you every single part of like my Lego Rebel Life from like memory, but I'm like, I don't remember too much about this other than like the Order 66 part. So I'm like, I know like the basic plot threads, obviously I created this, but I'm like, there's a lot that I don't remember about this. So I'm like, I was kind of almost dreading watching this. I was really excited to rewatch My Lego Rebel Life, but I'm like, I almost like, I don't know, am I gonna actually like this? I'm like, this is probably gonna be worse than My Lego Rebel Life. And I watched the first season and I was like, holy cow, I really like this. This is actually probably better than My Lego Rebel
Yeah, it is.
Life. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I put on there, I thought it was a much stronger pilot than My Lego Rebel Life. Um, So in episode 2 and 3, no, actually mainly just episode 2. I don't know if you caught on to this or not because you've only seen it once. I've seen it a couple times, but I put a couple homages to the OG Clone Wars series.
Mm,
So that scene where I don't know if you remember the C-3PO striptease scene when he's with
yeah,
Anakin and Padme. So that
yeah,
scene where Anakin and Padme like catch up in like the Coruscant underbelly, that was the whole Carly me thing. And then the knighting ceremony was obviously the same as the Clone Wars.
yeah,
So I like those little homages. I love the episode 3 too, like the stuff going on with Palpatine, where he's like trying to like stick his ear into Josh and put in
yeah,
his 2 cents. There was an
yeah,
idea from some of the Lucasfilm Story Group officials, and this has kind of been expanded on as canon media has expanded. But this idea that like Palpatine kind of had like a list of Inquisitor candidates that he kind of kept his eye on. So I tried to like play into that. Um,
yeah.
and then I don't know if you caught this in. What did you think of the Carly scenes? How that was
they were
executed?
they were a lot better than My Like Robo Life. Like,
Because obviously, like I wasn't really friends with Caroline anymore at that point. So I basically like did what they did in Rise of Skywalker. I went through and listened to all the recordings I had of Carly or of Caroline for Carly. And I wrote down every line on like a Word document, and I'm like, all right, these are the words I had to play with, and I used that to kind of craft a couple of those conversations out of. So
that's
none of that
cool.
was actually new dialogue. That was, I mean, new for me, of course, but all that was all previously repurposed dialogue.
That's really cool. So look, I don't think this is on the same level as the Commander. So what we should do is I'm down to put it in C tier, but I want to put Commander in eight then.
Oh, you know what? Mm. Am I that hateful that I'll get rid of a success-free act and deny me myself a success? No, I'll give him a success if I could take one,
That's
because
the
I'm
wrong
a
one.
little
That's
Jew.
the wrong one. You put the wrong one.
Oh, whoops! No,
Because
I
like, look,
will. I will do that.
because like, look, I thought the Clone Wars was way better than Rebels. I originally gave it a D, but like, if you think it's that good too, like, I don't mind putting it in C because it was really fun. But
And I love too
it's
that like the story was original too. Like it's a brand new story, and I tied it into like everything going on with the Battle of Coruscant. But like I was watching it play out, and I'm like, oh, like this is. It almost feels like kind of a detective story for a little bit. Like this is kind of interesting, like learning
yeah,
about what's going on. And now you see what I was saying about Jake with the pirate.
yeah. Well, that was in season two, wasn't
Well,
it?
he's in both season 1 and season 2.
Well, I loved him in season two. We'll talk more about that.
So, um, well, we'll relate this because next we're going to talk about My Lego Clone War Season 2, which is a 2020 production on Jaw Movies and Darth Momo.
So, I know I can see why you love Lucius so much because, yeah, Jake being that character was awesome. Like again, he's playing that little scurry character, and it was really fun to watch that. I actually gave this one a 6.5, so I gave it higher than the first season. But I mean, at this point, I mean, I guess I can go ahead and say it a seven. Um, I said it fun. Love the timeline. Love the stories. The production is good. Yeah, like these were. I actually quite enjoyed these. Like
Did you
and
enjoy Commander Gardo?
yeah, I did. It was fun to hear all the clones voiced by me. I thought that was really funny. So yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know if you caught this or not. So remember how he talks about like trying to sell Cloud City and he's like,
yeah,
no, no, no. He's like, they're gonna come after us eventually. They're not gonna pay. Let's bow out now, right? So I don't know
yeah.
if you noticed this or not, but in Empire Strikes Back, right? When they're talking about going to Cloud City and Leia's like, oh, a gas mining thing, and Lando or Han says, yeah, it's a Tabana gas giant. Lando conned somebody out of it, so I put in there that Ragnar sells it to some guy who he literally says in there, this guy seems like kind of a ditz, like he's easily conned. And then this guy gets conned by Lando.
Okay, that's actually kind of epic.
And I don't know if you caught this too, because this was also a deep cut one. This goes back to season 1. That they have the Millennium Falcon, right? So the
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon is in Revenge of the Sith, but it doesn't have that stupid escape pod thing. So I made sure that they take the escape pod, and he says to them, he's like, "Yeah, I've got some business coming up on Coruscant, but I'll help you out real quick." So they take the escape pod down there, and then he goes to Coruscant. So in Coruscant, that's why the Falcon looks like that.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
also the fact that the father of Lando is Lindo Calrissian, which is a reference to the Yoda Chronicle Lego thing they did like 15 years ago. Little Lando pops in, and he's got his dad Lindo Calrissian.
Lindo. That's awesome. Yeah. I love little Easter eggs.
So
Um,
I actually gave season two a lower score than season one, not by much. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I put in here, I love Jake as Ragnar Mentrol, and that's how much like I'd forgotten the show. I didn't even remember the main villain's name.
I, that's funny that you gave it lower because I gave it higher, but I think I just enjoyed like the characters more in this one.
And I love the Order 66, like how that all played out too.
Yeah,
Like I love the
yeah,
fact that like they're like, "Oh, Order 66, like all clones stand down." And then Josh is like, "Are we good to go?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, good to go, good to go."
yeah.
And I
And then
love
I
too
love
that Cole's playing him like he could see that like the fighter's empty and he's like, "Oh, well guys, they're gone."
yeah, no, that was good. And I like how the clone or my character is just like we will meet up again one day, and it ties in perfectly to the rebels. Like
Yeah.
I,
And I
I think
love
that's
that too with like Nick and Martina. Like I was thinking about it. I'm like, how? Because ever since I started working on season two of My Lego Rebel Life, I kind of had the idea of how they were going to escape Order 66, but I didn't really have the idea that Martina and Nick were involved in that. And I was like, well, that feels like a good connection to make, and that's why they get caught up together later on down the timeline. So this almost didn't happen this way because this was around the time that like Nick and Martina broke up, and I was just making this and writing the script. So I remember like they broke up, and she was really heartbroken, and she was talking to me, and I was trying to like console her, right? And I remember like telling her about this, and I asked if she'd be willing to do voice recording, and she's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Whatever. You're a good friend." She's like, "Yeah, I'll help you out," and she did them. And thank God, like that happened when that happened, because I remember like 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks later, it was her birthday, and I remember like texting her like, "Hey, just happy birthday," and she never answered any back, and I haven't heard from her since. So I waited like a month on doing this. It wouldn't have happened that way.
that's funny. Yeah, she like completely blew all of us off, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I really love the nice little like bow it puts on it and ties everything up. Like there, Josh at the end is like, "Did you tell Martina's droid where we're going?" And it leads it's right into my Lego Rebel life.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, good job.
So where do we put it at?
We can put it in C.
Okay. All right. We're down to the last three.
Okay.
Next, we're gonna talk about this is on nuclear films. It's a 2020 production. Um, Lego Marvel Serum Search. I gave it I think it's 2020. Yeah, it is 2020. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I said this one was better both than the other like one-offs he acted, both in terms of length and story. Like I didn't realize after I started watching, it was like, holy smokes, this is 4 minutes long. Like all his others were like a minute. So like, okay. Um, it told a more interesting and engaging story. And yeah, I mean, I'm not as into Marvel as I am with Star Wars, so it wasn't like, nostalgia blast like the Clone Wars one was that he did, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think this one was really cool. I like see what's cool about Chris is like he knows how to like put together a really character dynamic driven story sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And I really like how Captain America has like these demons he has to face, and this is just a
Yeah.
Lego stop motion video. Like he gives so much character to these little Lego figures in like 4 minutes, which is really crazy. Um, I love the production. Like he did such a good job with like the shield flying.
Yeah.
Like he does great with these like action sequences. Like they look cool. Like he makes them out of Lego, which I thought was really fun. Um, better editing, easy story to watch. I also gave it a 7 out of 10. Like yeah, really
One thing
really
I
fun.
noticed too, actually, you know what? I'll get to that in the next one because I think it was a different one. Um, all right, the next one we're going to talk about is Lego Harry Potter, Ron's Duel. I gave
Okay.
this one, or this was I think this was 2022. Um, I gave it and it's on Nuclear Films. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I said it was short, but it didn't need to be long. Like some of the others, I thought could have benefited from some length. This one, I was like, it was short, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It was I said I really liked the special effects too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much to it, but this was short and sweet. Like it was a blast. I actually enjoyed it. I saw him like Harry Potter. Like this looks like it's gonna be kind of cringe, and I watched it. I was like, oh, I liked it.
Yeah. Um, I would so on this you're gonna be surprised. Um, this one I actually kind of docked it points for just not really having a lot of substance. Like I gave it a 6.5, just because like literally it's really short and there's no substance to it. They just have a duel and they're like, "Come on, Ron, you can do it," and then he does it, and it's like, oh, I mean, I know you can say like, oh, don't give up, like that's kind of like the substance, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, oh, I mean, that's all it had to offer. Like the video really wasn't that engaging.
No, and
Um,
that's fair because we dinged him for some of his other ones for that very same reason. So that's a fair point to make.
I just think it's a little too short. The action is fun. The production is always good. So I mean, I didn't want to give it a 7. I instead gave it a really close 7. But it can go in 7. I don't really care.
So the last one we're going to talk about is a 2022 Nuclear Films production, Lego Star Wars speeder bike build. I gave this one a 3 out of 10.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
This I thought was I don't like he didn't try to tell a story. It was just like, hey, let's put a Lego set together with the Lego figures. Like I just thought it was really creative.
Yeah.
It's different from the others. I also put on here the stop motion is really fluid, and I think probably the best stop motion animation out of all of our videos. Like the feet move on everything. Like I don't know if you noticed that or not, but like the feet move much more stop motion like, and I don't know. It was just the stop motion was at its peak. I think on this one.
No, I completely agree with everything you just said. I also gave it an 8 out of 10. It was easy to watch, it was fun, and I also really agree with the whole point of like, yeah, instead of like an actual story, like this is just kind of like, hey, what if Lego figures built a Lego speeder?
Yeah,
Like,
this
uh,
feels like something that Lego would actually make.
yeah, I know. That's why I was like kind of impressed by it. I was like, like for some reason it's such a simple idea, but it's also such a great idea to
Yeah.
do.
No,
So
I really like this one. This is probably my favorite one.
yeah, I would say like in regards to just like watching and it existing, yeah, it's my favorite one. In regards to like a story, that would be the Commander. So like, yeah. There you go. Dang. Yeah, I feel bad for basically destroying your hopes and dreams.
Yeah, this was actually the one thing I was looking forward to talking about.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
Well, like out of all of our, this was the one I was out of all the projects we've talked about. This and like Hunt for the Killer were the ones I was like really excited to talk about, just because I love Hunt for the Killer so much.
Are you serious? The Lego
Yeah.
series?
Well, the My Lego Rebel Life. 'Cause like I said, I had an unhealthy nostalgia for it.
We have an unhealthy obsession with Star Wars in general, so that can make sense.
Oh, but I love Star Wars.
I know. Dang, that kind of sucks because yeah, but there you
Yeah.
go. I mean, like how much nostalgia can take over your mind because those are not 8s and 7s.
Oh. I mean, I love the Phantom Menace so much for nostalgia.
Well, that is an 8 and 7.
I love more than nostalgia about the Phantom Menace. I want to clarify that before I get hacked on. Well, yeah, that's it. That's the Lego videos. Um,
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining into this one. We'll be back next time. We're gonna talk about our what we're gonna call bonus videos. So pretty much videos that like they're kind of cinematic, adjacent, but they weren't straight up cinematic shorts that could fit their way into the 2014 to 2024 ranking videos. So we've got
Yeah.
a nice little handful of those there. So we'll be back next time with those. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining in.
Yeah.
You want to say it, Cole?
Um, Clever knife doff.
That works. We're
Sorry.
ending like that.